Do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment, for even the very wise cannot see all ends. J.R.R. Tolkien. Hello, and welcome everyone. I am Benjamin Gallagher, and today I will be bringing you research from scholarly sources in order to help you recognize why the death penalty should be abolished. To help you understand this position, we will be discussing the ethics of the death penalty, wrongful executions, and the economics of the death penalty. First, let's look at the death penalty in the United States. The states in red all have a death penalty. That's roughly half of the United States. They are mostly Midwestern and Southern states. This graph shows the amount of executions in the U.S. based on year. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, in January of 2020, there were over 700 prisoners on trial for death penalty in California alone. But everyone wants justice for their murdered loved ones, right? Actually, wrong. A study done by Professor Lillian Chenway from the University of Witwatersrand found that only 2.5% of the family of victims reported achieving closure as a result of the death penalty, while 97.5% said the execution did not help them heal. That may be because, as one of these co-victims described it, healing is a process, not an event. That many family members who have lost loved ones to murder feel that a death sentence will not heal their wounds nor provide closure. The mandatory appeals process in death penalty cases results in decades of court hearings, with no certainty that the death sentence will ever be carried out. For these reasons, many survivors of murder victims feel that the death penalty system only prolongs their pain and does not provide the swift resolution they seek. By contrast, a sentence of life prison is swift and certain, allowing families to move on knowing that justice has been served. From a study conducted by Dr. Bae, the head of the Department of Counseling Psychology at the Cyber University of Korea, has found that the victim's forgiveness of the person at fault for their trauma to the family has improved their happiness as compared to people who do not forgive their attackers. While removing the death penalty to assist in closure and with co-victims is important, a deeper ethical issue with the death penalty derives from having false convictions. From a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, a University of Michigan law professor, Samuel Gross, determined that 4% of people currently on death row are innocent. The execution of an innocent person is a wrong that can never be put right. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, since the 1970s, 1,500 people have been executed, 161 people have been exonerated from death rows, and 150 people have been exonerated post-execution. In many of these cases, the exoneration came after a long legal battle, and a lot of lawyers don't have the time to do these post-death legal battles. What's more is once one of these people have been executed, the formal appeals process also ends. But thanks to modern advances like DNA and social changes, 150 of these cases have actually been proven. This is one of those cases. George Stinney, a 14-year-old boy, was electrocuted in South Carolina in 1944 for the murder of two girls aged 11 and 8. This took place in 1944 in South Carolina, so racism was pervasive. Apparently, the two girls were past Stinney's house, and they were asked him and his sister about a certain type of flower. After this encounter, the girls went missing and were found dead in a ditch the following morning. After an hour of interrogation by officers, Stinney confessed to the crimes. This confession was apparently forced by the deputies because they told the 14-year-old boy they would not feed him until he confessed. This case still remains very controversial. An example can be made out of this case by showing how the judicial system does not always properly orchestrate. Therefore, it should not be deadly. He was the youngest person to be executed in the United States, and more than 70 years later, a judge threw out the conviction, calling it a great injustice. These are two other men who were wrongfully executed. Carlos de Luna was executed in Texas in 1989 because he looked like another man, Carlos Hernandez, who stabbed a gas station clerk to death. Carlos de Luna had a prior criminal convictions, so it made him look extra guilty when they came at him with the death penalty. Jesse Tefero, on the right, was convicted for murder and executed by the electric chair in 1990 in Florida. The conviction of the co-defendant was overturned in 1992 after a recreation of the crime scene indicated that a third person had committed the murders. Not only was Tefero wrongly executed, but his electric chair malfunctioned as well. As a result, his head caught fire, and after this encounter, a debate was focused around humane methods of execution, and lethal injections became more common rather than electric chair. So today, every state utilizes lethal injection. Utah, you can actually request a firing squad, but no one really does that. The lethal injection comprises a series of 3 different substances. The first is for sedation. The second is to relax your muscles so you don't have death spasms. And then the third is a strong dose of potassium chloride to stop your heart. Most people believe this method to be humane and painless, although a Washington University law review written by Dr. Jasmine Sharma stated that considering the personnel administering the lethal injection lack the expertise in anesthesia, the risk of failing to induce unconsciousness is greatly increased. Without adequate anesthesia, the person being executed would experience asphyxiation, a severe burning sensation, and massive muscle cramping, and finally cardiac arrest. So putting morality aside, let's look at the fiscal side of the death penalty. It seems like common sense. It's cheaper to execute someone than to house, feed, and take care of them the rest of their natural lives. But there are a lot of unavoidable costs that make a death sentence far more expensive than a sentence of life without parole. Most of these costs result from the unique status of the death penalty within the U.S. justice system. Because it's the only truly irreversible form of punishment, the Constitution requires a long and complex judicial processes per case, including several levels of mandatory review after the case is issued. The appeals process can take up to decades to complete. A study done by the University of Pennsylvania found that Pennsylvania death penalty system has revealed a death sentence costs at least 18 times as much as a sentence of life without parole would cost. Overall, the death penalty has been proven to be an ineffective means of punishment, an uncalculated killer of the helpless and innocent, and a burden on the economy. Put yourself in the shoes of a wrongfully accused person on death row. Imagine how it would feel to watch your death be bureaucratically calculated before your eyes and be helpless to do anything about it. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, everyone.